Blessings, everyone. Welcome back to Kylescavern. I hope you guys are having an awesome full hunter's moon and also super full moon. As I've been saying in my eclipse video, that this year we're going to be having lots and lots of planetary movement and activity. So if this full moon has been having you feel like a bit fiery, a bit flame-like, it's because the full moon is in Aries, and of course now the sun is in Libra, so you know the opposite these signs are legit polar opposites of each other. So trying to keep a level head during this time is very important underneath this full hunter's moon in Aries, super full moon in Aries. So yes, just take it easy on yourself, be mindful of yourself, and try not to fall into those impulsive actions and anger. Just try to work through them with a lot more grace, and know that you got this, and the creator of all things will not give you nothing that you can't handle. So just be able, so if you're mindful of that, you'll be able to help yourself during this super full moon, because this super full moon is very if you are new here, hello, I'm Kyle. I am owner and operator here on YouTube as Kylescavern and also Medicine Bag. So welcome. We would love to have you here. This is a channel of safety. We love to talk about spirituality. We love to talk about minerals. We love to talk about plants, which I'm going to get to, I promise. And in this series for this fall season, we're talking about mythical beings and creatures. So on this full moon, I felt it was very prevalent to talk about werewolves and skinwalkers. So yes, if you are wanting to join us, please do. Please subscribe, it's free. And also, if you guys know anyone that likes this type of content, please feel free to share it with them. I'm pretty sure they'll love it too. And make sure you guys comment down below of any suggestions that I should touch on, or any other mythical beings or minerals and plants that I should touch on. Please leave your suggestions in the comments, because I do read them all. And I do try to follow back a lot of people who follow me. So, and I always say you guys may be inspired to start your own channel as well. So I would definitely be looking out for you guys as well. But without further ado, let's hop right into the video of werewolves and skinwalkers. Now, we've all seen in movies, films, werewolves, shapeshifters, heard the term werewolf or shapeshifters, and those terms will vary of name throughout history and throughout different cultures. There are different names for a werewolf and shapeshifters, and they take form underneath the moonlight, because the moon is very intense. It pulls on the waters of the planet. It pulls on our energies as human. As a individual who loves a good vampire movie, I grew up watching Underworld. I grew up watching Van Helsing, Wolfman, of course, and I've always will have found werewolves to be very intriguing. But to understand their lore and how they operate, especially as we enter now, we're entering the end of harvest, the end of summer, basically. The full moon marks the end of summer. This full moon marks the end of summer. So now that we're fully in autumn and we're stepping more into the colder months, the darker parts of the year, it's said that malevolent spirits are able to roam freely during the colder parts of the year. So knowing what to look out and listen for while you're in the woods, or if you're ever at night walking, this type of information, to me personally, this type of information is very important, especially if you are spiritually sensitive and you can pick up on voices, energies, cryptids, any type of spiritual being. If you're able to pick up on that, knowing a little bit of lore about these creatures will definitely help to give you some knowledge and also some protection, because now that you have the knowledge, you will go into these spaces with a little bit more front-loaded with good protection skills and mindful skills when you're entering the woods or if you're out at night. This stuff is very, very important to keep yourself, it's very, very important to keep yourself safe while you are practicing your spiritual journey, because once you start unlocking parts of yourself, you will be more sensitive to what you feel, what you sense, because as humans we all have that ability. It's just more active than others. Werewolves have been talked about since 1100 to 1200 CE, so they have been around in lore or in just in the woods in the world for a very, very long time. And in America, we do have shapeshifters as well, but we also have the loup-garou, which is a French Creole term for a skinwalker or a shapeshifter. Usually always a wolf, but sometimes you can get a cat, sometimes an owl. The loup-garou is our American version of a werewolf. And there has been stories throughout the South about red eyes in the forest, or seeing red eyes in the trees, hearing howling like no other animal that people can describe, sounds in the forest. When the lights and when the sun goes down and the forest comes to life in a different way. The loup-garou is a creature that has hunted people for centuries in New Orleans, and it's usually roaming in the forest and also the swamps. Even in indigenous America, talk about werewolves and shapeshifters. And I'm talking about American indigenous tribes. And when they talk about either like skinwalkers or shapeshifters, they do mention that it's very taboo to really dive deep into what they are, which is why I'm going to just kindly graze over the surface of the topic of the skinwalkers. But it is said that human practices dark ritualistic magic, and they are sacrificing children. That could be first of all, that's a huge no-no, as we all know, but it could also trigger a cause and effect of that individual turning into a werewolf. And we even hear the story about Zeus and Lycan, or Lycon. I hope I'm saying his name right, but his name kind of sounds like Lycan, like how we hear on the movie Underworld, and how in other series of shows they may describe a werewolf as a Lycan. So it's said that at least in indigenous American tribes, that if you practice light magic, you can still shapeshift and transform into animals through the positive way. It will take longer in your practice to get there, but if people love sometimes to jump and cut corners, so when people start doing malevolent magic, you will get your wish, but of course it will come with a huge price. So it's always best to operate in light, because you can be able to shapeshift yourself into different forms of animals, and understanding them naturally how they are on the physical plane, you'll be able to match their energy in the spiritual plane as well, and understand them better and build a connection with animals. And that is the biggest part about me talking about going into the forest and respecting nature, because these are primal energetic forces that we as humans sometimes don't know how to handle their energy. So if we're not privy to information before we go into these spaces, we can get ourselves in trouble. We could get ourselves in trouble. Freaking spirituality. A loup-garou, or you can be turned into a loup-garou or a werewolf or shapeshifter through a hex. So that can also be put onto you depending on the witch doctor. And that's a new age term for, a person who practices dark magic. But I'm gonna stick to simplifying terms for the sake of the channel, for the sake of just understanding. Times in the Catholic religion and Catholicism, that if you break Lent or penance for 7 years, that you can also turn into a loup-garou or a shapeshifter. But they have so many different names for the loup-garou. You also have the red-eyed one. That's another term for loup-garou. If you remember, you also may hear the term lupin as well. Like, lupin is another term to associate with werewolves as well. So if you remember Harry Potter as well, the teacher, Professor Lupin, he actually turned into a werewolf. And also, the black dog, or the Grimm, as they call it in Harry Potter, the black dog is actually very tied to werewolves and their lore. And that even when the Lugaru or the werewolf is driven by malice, rage, they still hold that human consciousness within them. So it's very prevalent, you know, in their mind. Actually, crazy enough, I had a dream actually years ago of, I don't know who I was running from, but I was definitely running from someone. They look like dog catchers, to be honest. But I was like running on all fours. Like I could look, because I was like, why am I running on all fours? And I looked at my hands and it looked like talons almost, or like dog paws. And so I'm like, it looks like I was running through, like trying to escape them, but I guess I tried to shortcut them by running through a grocery store. So I'm like running through like the entryway of the store, and like people are like, what the heck is this? So you know, it's like a dream actually taught me to make sure that I'm on the right path, just so that I won't, you know, transform into a Lugaru or a werewolf, because that dream was very intense. It's also said that if you see a Lugaru and talk about it to other people, then you can also transform into a Lugaru. That, you know, how I always said, like if you hear your voice, I think I said this in my Will-o'-the-Wisp video. If you guys have not checked that out, definitely check that one out, about the Will-o'-the-Wisp or ghost balls. But if you hear your name in the forest or whistling while you're walking outside and no one else is around you, if you know them, of course, you know that you're not in danger. But if you hear these sounds while you're out at night, do not engage in it. That's the biggest Southern thing that has been talked about since, you know, since I was a kid growing up, is to not listen to voices and things that you cannot see, because they can get you. Another kind of werewolf is called a Vulcan. They are the most ferocious of shapeshifters. Being able to shed their own skin at will, being able to transform at will without, you know, a full moon, very dangerous for people around this individual who is able to do this. It's said that the Vulcan is also connected to the god Loki in Norse mythology. You will see the wolf pop up in a lot of cultures, a lot of cultures, because the wolf can also not only be a ferocious creature, but it also can be a guardian as well, a guardian spirit. So understanding which energy is what is very important, because you don't want to consume anything that is not in your path of elevation, in your path of growth, and understanding nature and working with nature. So about 2000 BC in Greek myths, I talked about the god Lycan. Now, how this story plays out is that, just how I talked about the children's sacrifices, King Lycan was an individual who practiced malevolent magic and actually sacrificed kids to Zeus, and Zeus was not having it. So Zeus actually struck a lightning bolt down on Lycan and killed him. And then he transformed him into a werewolf, and that's why we get, or black dog. You can work with this energy. It's in some lore also, it says that you can give a werewolf clothes, and that will help them to transform back into their human form as well. So offering clothes or items of use to these spirits can definitely help them. If you know any energies of werewolves, if you've seen them, if you've, you know, seen the red-eyed one, or you know the difference between a werewolf, a shapeshifter, and a Lugaru, then you can definitely offer clothes as a peace offering. Now, that's not always the case. Now, I don't want anyone to go out there and just start offering clothes and leaving clothes all over the place. But definitely, if you have seen these energies more prevalent around your area, you can definitely offer clothes or any type of offering to appease this entity. You know, keep the energies calm. It's not saying that you're worshiping it. You're not worshiping the energy. You are making sure that there's a boundary of respect when you leave offerings. And not only just to the werewolves. I talk about leaving offerings, you know, for ancestry, to fairies. Be careful with the fairies though, because if you promise, they will want more with the fairies. But like, if you don't own up your end of the bargain, the fairies will get you. Definitely offerings from the heart, food offerings definitely will help to know that when you're coming into the woods, taking things from the forest, you're not just taking, you are giving back as well. So just definitely always keep that in mind when you guys are out in the woods. And make sure that you guys do not turn around and listen to any voices that are calling your name. I'm gonna say this is in every creature video that, you know, is very much so tied to being out at night or night creatures. You should definitely you should definitely keep yourself safe, because it's you don't want to be caught up in something very, very dangerous spiritually, physically and spiritually. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video on werewolves. I will be doing another video very, very soon. I'm going to be doing a video on coral, and I hope you guys stay tuned for that. If you see me in this outfit, you know, that's why. I'm gonna post this one tonight, just for, you know, because tomorrow is actually the peak of the super full moon, so I will be posting this video tomorrow, and also releasing the coral video tomorrow as well, because definitely coral, the ocean, full moon definitely ties together. So definitely I will get on it as soon as possible. And that is a little entryway into werewolves. Now we will pick this subject back up later on. It's so many creatures in our creature Bible here that and I also took a lot of notes too. So, you know, this book is very, very thick. So we will be going over a lot of creatures and entities and spirits. Important to know these things, I do feel, for information wise, spiritually wise, and also to keep yourself protected. I think I just said protection wise. But yes, guys, I hope you guys have an awesome full moon. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.